Okay, we're recording now. Everyone, thanks for joining. We're going to start off with Keenan, Josh, and everyone else's updates, and then while I take notes, and then we can go over specific topics after the updates are done. Any of you can get started.
I'll start. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm planning to start or to finish the finalizer PR, so it's going to be ready for review. Hopefully, it'll be ready by the end of next week. I should have time to finish it over the next week.
Sorry, which PR did you say?
The finalizer one for service controller.
Okay.
And then that will clean up quite a bit of logic and help with some of the other refactors. And also probably clean up the tests too, since I'll be changing quite a bit of them. So kind of two birds with one stone there.
That's good. So if I understand correctly, you'll be doing, after finishing finalizer, you're saying you'll also be able to get the E2E test for service controller?
No, these would be unit. So I have a ticket open for the E2E. I'm not familiar with that code base, and it's super coupled to GCE. So I don't know the best way to make that less coupled for the like the external cloud provider E2E tests. I need to involve someone from SIG testing or whoever wrote it. Got
it. So I've been working with Daniel, who's kind of leading this effort, and I can take over the service controller E2E tests.
Okay, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Let me know if you want another cloud to help test that. I can do that in ours once you start breaking.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. That would be useful. I will get in touch with you once we're at that point where we can, where I can actually just even start running the tests.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks. I'm going to write that down. The next person, can you get started? Keenan, do you want to talk about, can you tell us about the CSI?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't have any updates on CSI. I need to sync with Nick, I guess, offline about where you want the repo to go. I'm going to try to schedule more time for it this coming week. Yeah, also I haven't synced with Yassine for a while now. So yeah, I guess he's not here right now. So I'll try to find him, figure out what he's up to also. That's about it, really.
So this is Walter. One quick question on that. There was some feedback on the CAP asking if we really wanted to go forward with CSI or Flex. I was going to respond my opinions on that, but it would be great to get yours as well.
Yeah, where is that, by the way?
I put it in the, and I can relink it, but I put it in the Slack channel a couple of days ago.
All right. Yeah, let me find that and I'll take a look.
Thanks.
So I was under the impression that Flex volumes weren't going to be maintained after really mid last year.
That was certainly mine. The interesting thing is they're now officially GA, so clearly they're going to be maintained for a while, but when I talk to SIG Storage's opinion seems to be, please use CSI, that's the future. But I mean, obviously there's some timing issues, but this is why I think we want to get everyone's opinion in and around the CAP on this issue.
So I know at KubeCon they mentioned that it was more so just in maintenance mode. They wouldn't be getting any new features and they're going to focus all their effort on CSI, but Flex Volume will be around for foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's pretty much the feedback I got from Storage as well. But again, I think this is where it's valuable to get everyone's opinion into the CAP on this issue.
That makes sense. Okay, so I guess that's an action item for all of us, where we look at the CAP and then respond to what we think about CSI versus Flex. I mean, I believe we should stick with whatever the future is going to be. Otherwise, when Flex gets decommissioned, we'll have to go ahead and unimplement or remove whatever we've done with Flex.
Well, and I think there are a couple other points we should make. I mean, my understanding is, Flex was great at the time, but it's essentially just a, write any executable you want to no standard, and there's some deployment issues. CSI is actually an open standard, and so I think there are a lot of benefits in going that direction instead, and I think most of the cloud providers aren't going to want to do this work twice.
How far away is CSI versus Flex? Since Flex is usable now, is supposedly now-ish. How far off is CSI?
So CSI right now is in alpha, and we're probably 2 quarters away from it going beta. But given that it's an open standard, I think, there's less, there is worry, but there's less worry than normal about the amount of change that'll go into as it goes from alpha to beta.
I was kind of more thinking along the lines of the delay in moving forward on anything that is dependent on storage.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I said, it's alpha today, so theoretically it works. I'm sorry, I'm an old programmer. I believe something works when I have it in my hands, have played with it, and have proven to myself it works.
Oh, no, I have run across alpha features in Kubernetes that don't work, so I laugh at that.
Like I said, I don't want to overpromise, but...
Yep, I totally support it. I totally agree with you. It's just more of a, how long we want to wait to move forward on anything storage related, or if we want to say, let's just go with the alpha, and we'll, as we hit bugs and issues with it, we'll deal with it.
I personally like the idea of one poor brave soul doing a little bit of trailblazing on this front, and then coming back and telling us where we're at, just so that we're all not trying to solve the same problem at the same time.
Yep, I think that's a good. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
So who gets to be the sacrifice, or the brave soul?
I'm probably a ways out. I don't know. I know we had 2 people looking at this, Keenan being one of them, so I don't know where they're at.
Keenan, did you have something to add?
Not really, no. Like, it all kind of makes sense. I still need to finish my piece for the AWS CSI plugin. Then you can see about finding someone to go in deeper.
But I guess that itself would give us some kind of idea about where we're at.
That's true. And really, what we want to do is to wrap up the existing volume plugins kind of in a generic way. So yeah, maybe getting one of them done will actually get us a lot of the way towards being able to try out more.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So I know Keenan was waiting for Nick Turner to tell him about the repository to store your CSI plugin at. Nick, any direction on that?
So yeah, we can definitely find a place for the CSI stuff. Keenan, would you like to sync offline and we can figure out what works best, whether it's our AWS organization or somewhere else?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I'll message you later.
Sounds good.
That's cool. So I know Daniel's working on node controller E2E tests. Daniel, do you have an update?
Yeah, sadly, I don't have an update because I was very busy the last few days. But I'll try to work on it now end of the week and over the weekend, so that I can hopefully report something in the next meeting.
Awesome, thank you. So just so everyone knows what we're doing. I'm working with Daniel, and he's going to be writing. He's going to be leading the E2E tests effort. He's currently writing node controller E2E tests. We're breaking it apart based on the controllers. I decided to get started with the service controller because that's the next piece, and I'll also augment whatever PR that Daniel makes with some service controller E2E tests. So one more thing is Jago has information about or was going to tell us about how we're going to go ahead with hosting the E2E tests, what repositories we put it in, and also we had to get some funding from CNCF for hosts that will run the tests. Walter, do you have any idea where Jago is?
He stopped by my desk late yesterday evening and told me that he had some family things that had to be dealt with and he wouldn't be making this meeting. So yeah, I'm not expecting him.
Is there some way we can get in touch with the CNCF folks to get the hosts and also move forward with
yeah, so why don't we just transfer this one to an action item for me, and I'll follow up with Jago and see where we're at.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Okay, so it sounds like the big two things that's well, it's been the big two things that we've been working on. Those are end-to-end tests and CSI volumes. Is there anything else that anyone else wants to bring up?
So I've been working on adding context to the cloud provider interface.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty close to having a PR go out. I expect if that does go out, that's a pretty significant change for all the cloud providers in 110. So it's one of the reasons I was trying to get it done at the beginning of the cycle, is to give everyone a chance to, get up to speed on it. I'm changing the interface and I'm changing the callers, but I'm not actually changing any of the implementations of cloud provider to make use of that context.
Got it.
And especially for those of you like Rancher who are sitting outside of Tree, I have absolutely no access there. So obviously there's probably a little more work if you're using the standard cloud provider interface.
Do we plan to wire that up for like graceful shutdowns?
I mean, I think that'd be the sort of thing that this enables. I think the first step is just getting the context everywhere it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. This enables us to do that, so yeah.
And then, I also, the node controller has now been split into two pieces. There's one follow-on PR where I need to actually break out one call out of the new node lifecycle controller. And then I think that piece is then basically done.
Cool. So also, Walter, you've made the PR to split the node controller, right?
Yeah, and it's actually merged.
Perfect.
So yeah, we now have a node lifecycle controller and a node IPAM controller.
Perfect. That's great, actually. So now we can manage the cloud provider changes separate from the node control changes and not have to have two copies of the same code, right?
That's the plan. I think I didn't quite finish all of that work because merge was getting to be kind of painful, just splitting it was going to make everything else a lot easier. So I have one or two minor PRs that are going to need to follow on. There's one cloud call left in node lifecycle, so I still need to pull that out in a PR.
Which call is that?
I forget the exact call, but it's essentially, does the node still exist in the cloud provider cluster?
Oh, okay. So in case the node becomes inactive, we check the cloud.
Exactly.
Got it.
That call needs to be pulled out.
Okay.
And then I think I don't think it's high priority, but Node IPAM and I think the cloud node controller that you added seem like they have a little bit of overlap, and I think it at some point might be worth doing a bit of a refactor.
I agree.
But I don't think that's high priority. So for now, that's sort of on, at least if someone else wants to do it, that'd be great. But right now, that's on my back burner.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. So So it sounds like everything's moving along. People are working on the CSI volumes. We're working on the end-to-end tests. And Walter, thanks for leading the KEB proposal, and also thanks for leading the node controller. Fixing this duplicated code effort. So as an action item, I think one of the important things is responding to that KEB question, CSI versus Flex, and sounds to me like we kind of have a agreement on using CSI. But I would encourage everyone to go participate in that. And other than that, we keep doing what we're already doing with CSI and end-to-end tests. And Josh, looking forward to the finalizer PR getting merged, and also the unit tests following that. I guess that's everything.
I actually had one. I don't necessarily want an answer now, but I have one question I think we should answer by next meeting.
Okay.
We keep talking about sort of going into, I forget whether we're calling it alpha or beta for the work we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about anyone else. I feel like I'm not concrete on my understanding of what that entails.
I thought we had an agreement on it last year, where we said if one cloud, any one, GCE or AWS, is completely using the CCM model, and it's able to use it, then we call it beta. And
related to that, I mean, I realize I'm getting kind of into the nitty gritty, but
right.
My thing is, like, AWS now, Google both have both a managed and an unmanaged version. So, are we thinking, is unmanaged sufficient, or does it have to be a working CCM and managed? And then related to that, do they have to have a working version of volumes? Since that seems like that's the trailing piece, or are we willing to just say, look, as long as you don't need persistent volumes, it should work. Volumes is going to follow on.
I think volumes is a necessary piece. I don't see how we can call it beta without it being feature complete, right?
No. I'm fine. That all of that seems reasonable. But I mean, this is where we start getting into, when does CSI versus Flex have to be done, and so if we want it to happen in 110, I just think we need to be very clear on what are the roadblocks that need to be knocked out of the way for that to be a success.
Fair. That's completely fair. Like you said, it's not something that can be answered right away.
Yep.
So I would definitely want to sync up with Jago before we actually come up with this plan.
No, I agree. And I mean, like I said, it doesn't need to be answered now, but I think but it does need to be answered soon if we're actually going to get this done in 110.
So the plan wasn't 110. It was really mid next year was kind of what we planned for.
No. If it's 111, then I'm a lot happier. But I think it would be good if all of us had, if we just sort of wrote down, even if we just put it in our own, doc or the meeting notes or something. But I think somewhere having something we can refer to where we're all saying exactly the same thing, especially with KubeCon EU coming up. And I would actually also propose that we try and get on the presentation roster, because I think it would be good if we could get a little more attention on this from the larger community.
Perfect. Okay, so that'll be an action item for me where I'll follow up with Jago and I'll ensure that we have a plan in place and also that it's publicly available on a doc or meeting notes somewhere.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's anything else, it's a good time to bring it up. If not, I think we can wind up now. All right, sounds good. See you all next week. Thank you for participating. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.